Dr. Darcy Neveu, this is Super Dentist Boost Camp. Darcy represents Super Dentist Boost Camp. Darcy came in 2021 to learn, and she's back as a speaker. Her story is so amazing, so authentic, so vulnerable. I am honored to have been a small part of it. I also want to share that Boost Camp is for people to share their story in a way that's comfortable to them. And everybody's story matters. And not everybody here speaks every other week like Chris Phelps, like me, like a Maggie, like a Sonia. It's really hard to stand up here and do this in front of people. So I've kindly annoyed people, asked them to go out of their comfort zone to create a presentation to help you guys in this audience and on the live stream. I am so thrilled to have Dr. Darcy Neveu. Dr. Neveu knew at age 10 she wanted to be a dental practice, wanted to be a dentist. She earned her DMD at Tufts University in Boston. During her time at Tufts, she earned a position as a fixed prosthodontics teaching assistant and clinical teaching assistant. She was also an Osher Scholarship recipient, recognizing her excellence in higher education pursuit. During last year at Tufts, she was one of a few students in her graduating class to complete her clinical studies early and surpass her clinical requirements, which I think is really going to mesh into her story that all the things dental school says are really important are important for patient care and have nothing to do with being successful as a practice owner. Those skills that you learn after dental school, through trial, through fire, through crying, through stress, is what Darcy is going to talk about. So please welcome Dr. Darcy to Super Dentist Boost Camp.
Thank you.
Awesome,
Clicky thing. Thank you.
you.
Hi, guys. I'm Darcy, and I was here in 2021, just like Paul mentioned, and then I got this wild invitation randomly in my inbox asking me to come speak. So it was really honoring. It was also a little shocking because Paul has no idea if I'm even qualified for this. No idea. So he definitely took a big leap of faith, but also what got me that invitation is probably because Paul didn't know until it happened that he was one of my friends in my phone to call when something wasn't going right. So that's what I'm going to talk about, and that's really what landed me here is a little bit of my story as a practice owner and how I wanted to find every single possibility and road to return it because I felt like I had made the biggest mistake of my life buying this dental practice that I thought I knew what I was doing. I've been a leader in so many positions in other aspects outside of being a business owner. I've taken leadership camps, workshops. It's just what I've done, and it's just who I've been almost my entire life as a leader, but nothing prepared me with how to lead a business. So let's figure this clicker out, but a little bit about me as well. This is my tribe. I think they're super handsome, so I have to share a little bit about them. My husband Kevin and we have two boys together, Abram and Everett. Abram is 9 years old, and he thinks he's 16. And then my 6-year-old Everett, he's awesome. He's our little Spitfire that challenges us on everything, but is also super insightful. And he is almost 7. And one of the reasons in my bio that Paul was talking about that I finished my clinical requirements early in dental school was this right here. So I'm a gunner, and I recently learned, I recently learned that I'm a visionary myself. So I dream big. I dream really big, and then I try to micromanage it all. So I go after it. I don't let anything get in my way. And one of those things was starting a family. Starting a family was super important to me. I was already married going into dental school, so I knew, you know what, I'm having a baby, and I'm going to find a way to do it before I graduate, and I did. So I was infant in arms walking across the stage. It was a super proud moment. Then, 2014, There were some associateships in there. It's the details aren't super important to what I want to talk about, but May 29th, 2020, I closed on my dental practice. So, yeah, I saw your face. May 29th, 2020. I was super excited. It's funny, that first picture is the picture that Paul pulled as my headshot for this. The second picture is like actually me, and that's how I like to smile. The other ones, smile pretty for the camera. The other ones, how excited I actually was. It was a day that I had looked forward to for ever since I can remember. I wanted to be a dental practice owner for a couple reasons. Two that are the most important is, one, I don't like being told what to do. I like telling other people what to do. And the second reason was the reality of the debt that I had acquired going into dental school. The information that we have now, I did not have, and in my mind, I had to own a dental practice to financially pay off those loans because I had no other option. So that was a big driver for me as well. So I had a lot of really big vision. I had really big plans. That's the thing about a visionary is you're like, this is what I want and I'm going to go after it. The hard part for me was sort of what Maggie was talking about earlier. Every little thing, like Sonia said, we didn't talk about this ahead of time. I had no idea what people were talking about, but there's such a similar theme. I had no accountability. I had no one there. I had to be self-accountable to say, okay, now how are we going to get there? Who does that, as a visionary, who does that affect around me? Is it positive or is it not? Is it not so positive? And I was royally disappointed very, very quickly because the expectation I had, I'm a huge Disney fan. My family and I go to Disney World, what my husband would say, too much. I think it's not enough. If I could go every weekend, I would. But I wanted to be the Disney World of dental practices, not only for my patients, but for my team too. I wanted everybody to want to show up to work, to be excited about showing up to work. I wanted to be able to encourage and support and cast that vision on others and for them to take a hold of it as their own as well. But the reality was that was not the case at all. So I was royally disappointed. And then I'm questioning, well, what the heck? How do I get there? I have these big visions and big plans, but obviously what I'm picturing, it's just not working and it's not turning out how I thought it would. So I had this huge work-life imbalance going on as well because trying to figure out, okay, what do? It was I would get home. I leave my house at 6 in the morning. I wasn't getting home till 6 at night. Then my kids go to bed at 7. I get an hour with them, and then my butt is right back on the computer trying to figure it out until 11 o'clock at night. So that was the life I was living, and it was not the life that I wanted. My husband was not super happy. We'll say that. It was just... And he knows there was some emotion behind the call. When I finally hit it, I wanted to take it off. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. That my life felt like it wasn't mine. I didn't realize that when I bought a business that it was now a huge definition of who I was. I wasn't just a dentist that could show up to work and do my job and inspire other people the way that I love to inspire other people and then go home and get to live my life outside of that. It was, I don't get to take this hat off anymore. It is super glued on my head so tight. No amount of Goo Gone can take it off. So it was that realization, but also not wanting to accept that as the reality, because nobody prepared me for that. No one prepared me before I bought a practice how it would impact my life, not just my life, but my family's life, and what that would mean for the rest of my life. So I wanted to give it back. The biggest part of it, too, was the people around me. I was really good at inspiring people in a moment, but then actually seeing the things I was inspiring them over and not having the accountability for myself, and then not also having the accountability to measure the outcomes from the people I was inspiring was a big rat wheel for me, and it was super stressful. And then it was the difference of knowing the game versus actually playing the game. I'd studied so much. I took every single free class you can imagine on practice management, practice ownership, learning KPIs, like all of it, all the number stuff, all the logistics of running a practice. I had learned and I knew it. But then I had to actually insert myself into that, and it wasn't just a mechanical, logistical thing. As a visionary, there's emotions behind it. There's a lot of mental capacity that you don't realize you have to have, and flexibility that you realize you have to have as a practice owner. So there was a day that I broke. It was a moment of I can't. I walked into my office. We have a morning huddle every day. I love my morning huddle. I'm still convinced that my team is going to be more participatory, but I think I'm the only person who walks into those huddles now. I wasn't then, but super pumped about morning huddle. I'm a little obnoxious with it for my team, so I also kindly annoy my team and make them participate and pull things out of them. But I had an assistant pull me aside after, and we had this conversation, and there was something about this conversation that just wrecked me. And I went out to my desk, and I just said, I was complete, poker face. No one knew what was going on inside. I just went out, and I said, cancel my day. I'm leaving. And I walked out. And the first place I went, because you should always be connecting, was right down the road to my orthodontist's office, because that was the person that I wanted to go see. And she was awesome, and she was there for me. And then I went home. And then I called Paul. And he didn't know. He had no idea. He's he probably was thinking, why in the world is Darcy texting me? This is in the middle of the day. She should be working. So Paul was so great with me, and he was so kind, and he took the time, he carved it out to really walk me through some things and to connect me to people. He connected me to Alan. And that was, if you have not met Alan before this is done, you need to make sure that you talk to Alan, because he is something special. And he connected me to a whole lot of people that played a big part in the next steps that I took. But the overall thing was, Paul encouraged me, get a coach. Stop being cheap. You're making plenty of money. He even asked me in the conversation, Darcy, how much is your practice collecting? Okay, my practice numbers were fine. That was not the problem. Sometimes that's a problem. My practice, I was only 2 years into practice ownership. When I started my practice ownership journey, I bought it collecting $800,000, and we had collected 1.6 that year. So the numbers were not the problem. It was everything else that was the problem. So he finally said, Darcy, stop being cheap. So I did, and I rapid fire found the right person to work with. And it's so funny because I see it on Dental Nacho's group. I've seen it even recently, coaches, they're such a crock of crap. They don't really know. What do you mean they don't know? There's so many out there. What professional athlete do you know that got there by themselves? I don't know any of them. So my kids this year started playing baseball. So I'm the one who's organizing, or tried to, and we are going to go to the Phillies game tomorrow, by the way, because baseball rocks. But my kids started playing baseball this year, and now we are all baseball. And so much so that my 9-year-olds, we're hiring a private pitching coach. He's 9. But it's we know and we see the value in hiring the people who know what they're doing and who can step back and guide him to not just know the game, but really know how to be in the game and play it really well. Funny stories, and I'm going to veer off into my kids a little bit, but it circles it back to the importance of a really awesome coach, and I'll tell you a little bit about mine too. My youngest son did not want to play baseball. He wants to play soccer. I played soccer, but I like baseball better. It's really hard to have kids in 2 separate sports. If you've been there, you know the struggle. But my youngest son is he's very deep. He's very just observatory. He loves to soak things in. He watched his older brother. He went to all the practices this year. He went to every single game. This kid was on fire for baseball, and I could see my 6-year-old love baseball more than my 9-year-old, but he had never played a day in his life. But he still, when we asked him, do you want to play baseball? No, I want to play soccer. But then one day he finally said yes. So he went on a summer league baseball team. But the difference is he had never actually played. This kid knows so much about baseball. I could put you in a room with my 6-year-old. I think he knows more than I do about baseball. And this is them playing baseball this year. This was him and Big Brother. Big Brother won the Little League Championship for minors this year. So that was a really awesome first season for him. And he really looks up to his big brother. But this is what happened when he went into his first game. If I can get it there. Play.
Go get it! Go get it!
Guys, he missed third base. How do you miss third base? He missed third base. But the thing is that once I got my coach, she could come in and she could look at my practice and say, Darcy, you know what you're doing. You're not doing a bad job, but you need to get back and tag third base. I was missing it. And even with good coaching, sometimes it happens again. Sometimes it happens again. He has such a good coach, and he knows the game so well. He knows the game inside and out, but he forgot twice to hit third base without his coach guiding him and leading him and saying, Everett, get your butt back here and tag third base. And that's how you're ultimately going to score. He would have been out. He couldn't have done it on his own. So we finally got him there. He finally learned. So look at him. He's looking at his coach for that affirmation. And I'm a solo practice owner. It is a very lonely world. As even I even hear from friends who have associates or partners or other dentists who come into their practice, they still can feel super lonely. And sometimes all you need is just that affirmation and that person to say, no, get back on third base. And now he knows his eyes are on his coach. His eyes aren't on home plate. His eyes were on his coach to say, did I do it? I did. And now he's not doing that anymore. Now he knows. But his coach was the one who told him, get back here. Gave him a high five, gave him a pat on the back that he did it right. He has now the confidence that he did it right and is going to continue to do it right. But he knows he has someone at third base to tell him if he's not. So that's what coaching can do in our dental practice world, is they can come in and they can say, hey, get back and tag third base. Hey, if you just move your hips a little bit to the left, you're going to go from hitting a single because you're going to keep hitting it, whacking the ball right towards first base. You might be out every single time. Just move your hips a little. Now you're going to go center field and you're going to get on base and you might even get a double. It's not that you're doing anything wrong, but there's things I can see that you can do better. So this was the coach that I ultimately got connected with. Genevieve is awesome. Genevieve Poppy. I had talked to a ton of people, and Genevieve was who I connected with most. And she's been amazing. She's been that person that has said, hey, you just need to pivot here. You just need to do this. And she has been that rock for me to finally love what I do. I don't know what I'd do without her. So really finding the joy in the journey and the contentment through the chaos. One, I think everybody should have a coach. There's no reason you shouldn't. You do not know it all. You never are going to know it all. And on top of it, you get to make some really awesome friendships along the way in that. But these are the little like nuggets that I've taken away and this is all super recent, guys. This was a year ago. So don't let the comparison monster define your success, because your success is going to look different than my success. So define what success is for you. Know that practice ownership is not for everyone. I was talking to Julia earlier, and I told her that, I don't see my life any other way. I love being a practice owner. I love it so much that I just signed on for an expansion of my practice. So I'm like really pumped about owning a business now. But, now that I know what I know through Dental Nachos, these associates, some associates are crushing it, like financially, like really killing it. It's like, you know what? I don't know if I would have made a different choice if I knew that financially I could pay my loans off and not own a business. I don't know. Who knows? I had a slight thought of that at one point, but I can't change the past, and I don't regret my path now, and I love what I do, but just knowing that it's not for everyone. So I don't know if I'd make a different choice, but I want people to know that message too, just as much as Paul does. Know your why and know it can change. It does not have to be consistent. You can change what drives and motivates you. Define your core values, your mission, and your vision. Read them daily and filter everything through them, not just in your business life, but also in your family life. You always have something to learn, so stay humble and keep on learning. Remember that humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. Reverse engineer everything. That is a thank you and hats off to Anissa, if you know Anissa Holmes. She was up on the screen earlier, I think, for Sonia's speech. Also, a tribute to Alan is play the part with all your heart. Sometimes, so the thing with joy through the journey, joy is not your external circumstances. Joy is something that comes from within that sustains you. You can still have joy and not be happy. But as a business owner, you have to walk through those doors, even if you are not happy, and you have to play the part with all your heart. And so eventually, your insides do start to follow your outsides. And I found that through playing the part with all my heart, thanks to Alan. Surround yourself with support and stay in community. Boost Camp changed a lot for me, but the primary thing it did for me was give me a phone a friend. So it's Paul's fault that he gave me his cell phone number. And don't be dentist cheap and invest in yourself. I had no excuse at my collections of $1.6 million to not afford a coach. So I don't even care how much she charges me now. I don't even look at it. It's worth every single dime, and that's not just applicable to a coach. It's also applicable to the CEs that you're investing in yourself as well. So those are the takeaways that I have. Ultimately, you got to get a coach. So that's all we got.